My name is Marzelyn Price. I am 62 years old, born and raised in a small town just outside Atlanta. I worked 30 years as a nursing assistant, raised 3 children, and now I am the grandmother who always has a pot of soup on the stove and a blanket folded on the couch. People in my neighborhood call me Miss Zell. They know me as the quiet woman with the little blue house and the white rocking chair on the porch. They know my flowers. They know my pound cake. What they do not know is that one Sunday afternoon I swapped my cheating husband's lube for glue, and the firefighters had to pry him apart from his mistress while I watched. Before I tell you how everything went wrong, let me talk to you, the one listening right now. If you love emotional and powerful true-like stories, where women like me finally find our strength, I want you to stay with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you do not miss any of my stories. And please, go to the comments and tell me where you are watching from, which part of the country, so I know who is sitting with me tonight. Now, let me take you back to the day everything exploded. The sirens came first. I heard them from my kitchen, that rising sound that makes your heart jump even when you know you did nothing wrong. I stood there with my hands still wet from washing dishes, staring at the little red light flashing across my window as the fire truck rolled to a stop just a few houses away. Then my phone buzzed again. "Miss Zell, you need to come to the Maple Pine Motel right now." It was a text from my youngest neighbor, a girl named Jada who worked the front desk at that cheap motel on the edge of town. I stared at the message. My chest tightened. Maple Pine Motel. That ugly place with the flickering sign and the broken ice machine. The same place I had followed my husband to 2 weeks before, hiding my car behind the gas station, watching him from a distance while he walked into room 17 with a woman half his age. My husband's name is Langston. 58 years old, tall, handsome in a tired kind of way. We married when I was 19 and he was 23. For almost 40 years I believed he was my safe place. I thought we had made it through the storms of life. But retirement does something funny to a man who never learned how to be still. I grabbed my purse and my keys. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped them. "Lord, help me keep my mind," I whispered. I drove faster than I should have, following the sound of the siren. When I turned the corner, there it was. The Maple Pine Motel, with its chipped blue doors and dirty curtains, surrounded by flashing red and white lights. The fire truck. An ambulance. 2 police cars. People were standing outside their rooms, staring, holding their phones up, recording. I parked across the street, near the dumpster, and sat still for a second, my fingers gripping the steering wheel. My heart was beating in my ears. I could smell the old French fries from the fast food bag in my car, and it made my stomach turn. This is it, I told myself. This is where all those late nights and secrets end. I got out of the car and walked toward the motel. The pavement under my feet felt soft, like I was stepping on clouds, like I was not really there. The air smelled like smoke and cheap perfume. A firefighter in a heavy jacket brushed past me, carrying a big red toolbox. Another man carried something that looked like a metal bar. Their faces were serious. No one was smiling. Room 17. The door was closed, but the numbers were crooked, dangling from one screw. People were gathered around, whispering, laughing, pointing. I heard my husband's name in the murmur. "That's him. That is Langston. Man, this is crazy." I moved closer, my chest rising and falling too fast. A police officer stepped in front of me, holding one hand out. "Ma'am, you cannot be this close." "That is my husband in there," I said. My voice came out calm, but my hands were shaking again. "You will move, or I will move you." He studied my face for a moment, then stepped aside. "Stay against the wall, ma'am." Against the wall I stood, right next to the faded vending machine that only sold root beer and stale chips. From there I could hear everything, though I could not see inside the room yet. A low, broken male voice cried out. Please, please, just get us out of this. That was Langston. Then a high, panicked female voice. It hurts. Oh my God, it hurts. That was her. The same woman I saw 2 weeks ago. The one with the tight red dress and the fake eyelashes that curled up like little claws. The firefighters were talking quietly. We got to cut the frame. If we move them too quick, it will tear skin. What is on them anyway? One of them called out to the police officer. What did the paramedic say this was again? The officer shook his head. Some kind of glue accident. We found a bottle on the nightstand. The label is peeled off. I closed my eyes. I remembered that bottle. I remembered standing in my own bathroom the night before, looking down at the clear plastic in my hand. The bottle he kept hidden in the drawer behind his socks. The special lube he bought, thinking I did not know it was not for me. I remembered going to the dollar store, buying a strong clear glue, sitting at my kitchen table with my reading glasses on, peeling the label off the glue and pressing it carefully over the label on the lube. I worked slow, smoothing every edge with my thumb. My hands were steady that night. Too steady. You want to play, Langston? I had whispered, staring at that bottle. Then you can play. Now, in the hallway of the Maple Pine Motel, I heard my husband scream again from behind the door. A rough sound, full of pain and fear. We are going to have to cut the bed, one firefighter said. Everybody be ready to support their weight. Do not let them fall when they come loose. The crowd in the hallway shifted, pressing closer. People held up their phones higher, hungry for drama. Some were laughing under their breath. Others looked away, embarrassed. I did not laugh. I did not cry either. I just stood very still, pressing my back against the wall, feeling every year of my life in my bones. I thought about our wedding day. The cheap white dress. The rented suit. How he had held my hands in that little church and promised me he would love me until the end. I thought about the night I found the text message, glowing on his phone while he snored beside me. Can't wait to feel you again, baby. Same place tomorrow. Room 17. My finger had hovered over the call button for a long time. But I never called her. That was not my way. Instead, I planned. Inside room 17, something crashed. A woman screamed. One of the firefighters cursed under his breath. Careful. Do not pull like that. Hold her leg. Sir, stop moving. You are making it worse. I could almost see it without seeing. Their naked bodies stuck together, his sweat and shame mixing with the sting of glue. The sheets torn. The mattress cut open. One of the motel maids walked past me, shaking her head. She leaned close and whispered, Miss Zell, you know they stuck together for real. Like skin on skin. I never seen nothing like it. I opened my eyes and looked straight ahead. You know who that man is? I asked her. She hesitated. Then she nodded slowly. Yes, ma'am. That is Mr. Langston from your street. I nodded back. Yes. That is my husband. The words felt heavy, like they were made of stone. Another firefighter arrived with a bigger metal tool. He set it down with a loud clang. All right, he called out. On 3 we lift. 1, 2. The door to room 17 moved an inch. Then another. They were opening it wider now, making space, trying to angle the bed frame. I could see a strip of white sheet, a flash of brown skin, a shaking leg. Then I heard Langston's voice again, closer this time, broken and begging. Please. Please do not let her see me like this. Please do not let my wife see. I took 1 step forward, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. Too late, I whispered. The door swung open another few inches. I knew that in one more breath, one more tiny pull on the frame, the whole ugly scene would be revealed to everyone in that hallway, including me. And just as the metal groaned and the bed started to move, one of the firefighters turned his head, saw me and froze. "Ma'am," he said quietly, eyes wide. "Are you sure you want to be here for this?" I lifted my chin, wiped the corner of my eye with the back of my hand, and opened my mouth to answer. What I said next changed everything. I looked the firefighter straight in his eyes. He was young, maybe late 20s, light freckles, nervous hands. He expected me to fall apart. He expected me to run out crying or faint like the women in old movies. But I had lived too long, lost too much, and carried too many secrets to fall apart now. So I said the words slowly, clearly. "I came here to see the truth. Now open that door." He hesitated. Then he nodded at his crew. "All right. Move the frame on my count." The hallway went silent. Even the people recording lowered their phones a bit, as if they felt something shift in the air. One firefighter braced his boots on the carpet. Another gripped the metal bar. A third one put his shoulder under the corner of the splintered headboard. 3, 2, 1. The door swung open wider. And there they were. I had imagined what I might see, but nothing prepared me for the reality. Langston was lying on his back, shirt halfway on, pants around one ankle. His face was red, twisted in pain, eyes trembling. Attached to him like some horrible living sculpture was the woman he had betrayed me with, Tiana. She was covering her face with both hands, sobbing uncontrollably, her hair sticking to her sweaty forehead. Their bodies were tangled, glued so tightly that every move they made pulled skin. The sheets were cut open. The mattress was sliced down the middle. The wooden bed frame was cracked, splinters everywhere. The room smelled like sweat, fear, and the sharp sting of industrial glue. When Langston saw me, his whole body tensed. "Zell, please. Please do not look at me like this." I stepped forward until I was close enough to see every line on his face. Every wrinkle. Every lie. "You looked at her without shame," I said softly. "So you can look at me now." One firefighter cleared his throat, trying to stay professional. "Ma'am, we need you to step back so we can get them out safely." I held up my hand. "Just one moment." I turned back to Langston. For a second the whole world felt slow, like time pulled apart the same way their bodies were stuck. "Do you love her?" I asked. His mouth opened and closed like a child caught stealing. "Zell. Listen. It was a mistake. I swear." I nodded, then looked at the woman glued to him. She was younger than I thought. Maybe late 30s. Pretty. Scared. Eyes swollen from crying. "Do you love him?" I asked her. She sniffed hard. I did not know he was married. That was a lie. I had seen her at the grocery store more than once. She knew exactly who I was. I leaned closer. "If you are going to lie, at least lie with strength." Her shoulders shook. She turned her face away. One of the firefighters stepped forward again, gentler this time. "Ma'am, if we do not move them now, their skin might tear worse." I nodded. "Do what you must." They worked fast after that. One man held Langston still. Another tried applying the loosening solution. A third one used a small saw to cut more of the broken frame. Every time they shifted, Tiana cried out. Langston groaned. The room was full of noise, full of shame, full of the sound of consequences. When they finally separated the last piece of wood, both of them screamed. The glue held tighter than flesh. The firefighters had to lift them together as one unit, carrying them sideways through the door like two people trapped inside a broken mirror. They laid them each onto their own stretcher, covering their lower halves with sheets. Langston reached toward me with a trembling hand. "Zell. Please. Please do not let them take me to the hospital like this. Everybody will talk. Everyone will know." I folded my arms. You should have thought about that before you walked into this room with her. A murmur rippled through the hallway. Even the people recording lowered their phones again. Some looked at me with admiration. Some with fear. The paramedic approached with a clipboard. Ma'am, we need some information. Were you aware your husband was here? I met his eyes. I had a feeling. He scribbled something on his paper. Do you know anything about the glue involved in the incident? The hallway grew quiet again. Even the buzzing motel sign outside felt silent. I let out a slow breath. No, I said. My voice steady. Whatever they were doing in there was their choice. Not mine. He held my gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded, wrote something else down, and walked away. As they rolled the stretchers out through the front entrance, Tiana cried into her hands. Langston stared at me the whole time, eyes begging, throat tight. I did not move. I stood in the doorway like a statue, watching the life I used to know be wheeled out on 4 small wheels and into the back of an ambulance. When the doors closed, the sirens stayed off. They drove away slow, quiet, almost ashamed. People began to drift back into their rooms. The crowd broke apart. Phones went down. Voices lowered. Only one person came near me. Jada, the motel worker. She walked up timidly, holding her hands together. Miss Zell, I am so sorry you had to see that. I nodded once. Thank you for calling me. I started walking toward my car, but she stopped me with a whisper. What are you going to do now? I paused with my hand on the car door. What am I going to do? That was the question. I looked back at the cheap motel, the flashing lights, the room where the truth had finally broken open. I am going home, I said quietly. But not to forgive him. And not to forget. Her eyes widened. Miss Zell, are you planning something else? I closed the car door, rolled down the window, and gave her a small smile. Sweetheart, when a woman stays silent for too long, revenge stops being loud. It becomes patient. I drove away while she stood there speechless. But as I turned into my neighborhood, one thought burned through me like fire. Tonight was only the beginning. When I pulled into my driveway that night, the street was quiet again. No sirens. No flashing lights. No neighbors whispering behind fences. Just the soft hum of street lamps and the smell of wet grass from the evening rain. My little blue house looked exactly the same. But I was not the same woman who had left it only an hour earlier. My hands gripped the steering wheel for a long moment. I could still hear Langston's voice echoing in my ears. The begging. The fear. The shame he suddenly cared about only after being caught. I turned off the engine and stepped out, the night air cool against my skin. My porch light flickered a little, the bulb loose again, something Langston was supposed to fix 2 months ago. I walked inside. Closed the door gently. Locked it. Double locked it. The silence inside hit me like a wave. My living room still smelled faintly of cinnamon from the candle I had lit earlier that morning. My TV was paused on the home channel. My slippers were beside the couch. The Afghan blanket I crocheted last winter was folded neatly on the rocking chair. Everything was in its place. Except me. I sat down slowly on the couch, my bones tired but my mind awake, too awake. Those motel images kept replaying, each one sharper than the last. I pressed both hands against my forehead. 40 years. 40 years of cooking, saving, loving, forgiving, surviving. And this was how the man I built my life with repaid me. With betrayal. With lies. With a woman who could not even look me in the eye. My chest tightened again, the kind of tightness that comes from old pain, layered like bricks over the years. That was when the memories started coming. Not soft memories. The hard ones. The ones I never allowed myself to speak aloud. I saw myself at 22, holding our first baby while Langston walked out the door with the excuse of needing space. I saw myself at 30, sitting alone at church while he claimed to be visiting a friend. I saw myself at 40, pretending I did not notice the lipstick on his shirt because our son had gotten into trouble and I did not want more chaos in the house. I saw myself at 50, crying quietly in the laundry room while he accused me of making things up. Then I remembered the day he told me I was getting too old and should be grateful he stayed. All those moments lived inside this house. Every wall had heard them. Every corner had carried them. I stood up slowly and walked to the mirror in the hallway. My reflection stared back, tired eyes, lines across my forehead, silver strands in my braids. But behind all of that, strength. The kind that grows only in a woman who has been hurt too many times and learned to stand anyway. I touched the glass. No more, I whispered. I walked into the kitchen and turned on the small lamp above the sink. The same lamp that lit the counter where I had swapped the bottles. The glue bottle still sat in the trash can, buried under paper towels and a torn cereal box. I stared at it for a long time. That decision had changed the whole direction of my life. And strangely, I did not regret it. I was pouring a cup of tea when I heard a car pull up outside. Slow. Unsteady. At first I thought it was a neighbor. But then headlights washed across my living room wall. Someone was at my house. At this hour. I set the cup down and walked carefully to the window, pulling the curtain back just enough to see. A police car. My heart thumped once, hard. A young officer stepped out. He looked nervous, holding a small notepad. I opened the door before he knocked. "Evening, ma'am," he said softly. "Sorry for coming by so late." I nodded. "Is this about my husband?" He shifted on his feet. "Yes, ma'am. Langston Price." I crossed my arms. "Is he alive?" "Yes, ma'am. He is stable at the hospital. They were able to separate them, but he needs treatment. The woman too." I nodded once. I felt no relief, no fear, just emptiness. The officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we need to ask one more question." "Go ahead." He looked down at his notepad, then back up. "We are trying to understand how that glue ended up in the bottle. It is the same type used for woodwork and carpentry. Not something you find in a motel room." My pulse slowed. He did not suspect me. Not yet. But the question was drifting closer to the truth. I kept my voice calm. "Officer, I have no idea what they were doing in there. People who cheat always take risks. Maybe they played with something they should not have." He nodded slowly, though his eyes studied me longer than before. "All right. I just wanted to check in. If we need anything else, I will let you know." I leaned against the doorframe. "Officer." "Yes, ma'am." "Will she face charges?" "The mistress." "Yes." He exhaled. "Hard to say yet. Hospitals have to file incident reports. Depending on what they find, both of them might." "Good," I said softly. "Actions have consequences." He nodded once, stepped off my porch, and got back in his car. I watched him drive away until the taillights disappeared. Then I locked my door again. But as I walked down the hallway toward my bedroom, something stopped me cold. A sound. Small. Soft. Barely there. A buzz. Coming from Langston's nightstand drawer. His phone. I opened the drawer. The screen lit up with a message. From a number I did not recognize. But the name attached froze me in my tracks. It said, "Call me when she calms down. We can fix this." Fix what? Fix who? Fix how? And then the message ended with a name that hit me like a blow to the chest. His sister's name. The one who always smiled in my face. The one who always said she loved me. The one who once told me, A woman must know her place in a marriage. My hand trembled around the phone. So she knew too. She knew everything. And she helped him hide it. That moment changed something deep inside me. The glue in the motel room was a reaction. This feeling right here. This was the beginning of war. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the message, breathing slow. If his family had been covering for him. If they had been lying to me. If they had been laughing behind my back. Then my revenge was not finished. Not even close. I stared at that message on Langston's phone for a long time. Not blinking. Not breathing right. Just sitting there, letting the words settle into me like cold rain soaking through old clothes. Call me when she calms down. We can fix this. Signed by the one person I never expected. His own sister. Madeline. Madeline Price, 65 years old, church choir leader, the woman who hugged me every holiday and brought sweet tea to my house every summer. The same woman who let me cry on her shoulder when Langston lost his job years back. The same woman who told everybody in the neighborhood. My brother's wife is a blessing. We thank God for her. She knew. She knew all along. She smiled in my face while helping her brother break me. I set the phone on the dresser, fighting the shaking in my hands. It was not sadness anymore. It was not heartbreak either. It was something heavier, older, sharper. Betrayal with roots that reached down into my bones. I could taste the bitterness in my mouth. That bitter taste only comes when someone you trusted becomes the knife. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. I needed water. I needed air. But something in me needed answers even more. I picked up the house phone and dialed Mariah's number first. Maria was my oldest friend. 67. Fought breast cancer twice. Sharp tongue, soft heart. If there was anyone who would tell me the truth without sugar, it was her. She answered on the second ring. Zell honey, I saw the news online. Lord have mercy. Is that really Langston they took out on a stretcher? I closed my eyes. Yes. She sighed long. I knew something was wrong with that man these last few years. He'd been walking around like he got secrets tied to his ankles. I swallowed hard. Maria, I need to ask you something. And do not lie to me. I heard her settle in her chair. Say what you need to say. Did you know he was cheating? The silence that followed felt like a knife pressing into my throat. Maria. Her voice came soft. Zell. Baby. I suspected. Not for sure. But I suspected. I gripped the counter. Why did you not tell me? Her voice cracked. Because I knew you loved that man with your whole soul. And I was scared that if I told you without proof, you would think I was trying to tear your marriage apart. I leaned against the fridge, letting her words sink in. At least she was honest. At least she had fear mixed with love. Not betrayal. Unlike his sister. You did nothing wrong, I said quietly. But I got work to do. I will call you later. She understood. All right, baby. Just do not do nothing that steals your peace. But peace had left my house the moment I saw that text. I hung up the phone, grabbed my keys again, and stepped back outside. The night was colder now, sharper. The moon was bright, watching everything. I got in my car, turned the ignition, and drove straight toward Madeline's house. I knew she would be awake. She was the type who never slept early, always up talking on the phone, watching late-night sermons, or drinking her special chamomile tea. I parked in front of her house. The porch light was on. Her shadow moved behind the living room curtains. I knocked. Firm. 3 times. She opened the door with a smile that died the moment she saw my face. Zell. Her voice wobbled. Why are you here this late? I stepped inside without asking permission. She shut the door behind me, nervous now. Her house was warm, smelled like cinnamon and lemon furniture polish. Pictures of family lined every wall, including one of me and Langston holding hands at a barbecue. I pointed to it. When was this taken? She swallowed. Last year. I nodded slowly. And you stood there smiling at us, while knowing your brother was sleeping with someone else. Her lips parted. Zell. Listen. No. I took one step closer. You listen. I found his phone tonight. I saw your message. Her face drained of color. Oh Lord Jesus. Do not call the Lord's name when it is your betrayal we are talking about, I said quietly. Did you know? The whole time. She wrapped her arms around herself, blinking fast. Zell, I was trying to protect the family. He told me it was just a phase. He told me he was going to leave her. He begged me not to say anything. My jaw tightened. So you protected him. Not me. She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheek. Zell, please, I did not want to hurt you. You did, I said. And what hurts the most is you did it willingly. She covered her face with both hands. It is not my fault he cheated. No. But you helped him hide it. And that makes you just as guilty. She looked up sharply. Are you going to tell the family everything that is going to cause trouble? I stepped closer until we were inches apart. Trouble is already here. And I will not carry this alone anymore. Not when you helped build the lie. Her voice trembled. What do you want from me? Her question should have given me satisfaction. But instead, it gave me clarity. This was not about screaming. It was not about fighting. It was not even about revenge. It was about truth. Real truth. The kind that wakes you up from a deep sleep and makes you start your life over. So I said it calmly. I want you to call every person you lied to and tell them the truth. Every sibling. Every cousin. Every nephew who believed your brother was a good man. You will tell them what he did. You will tell them what you covered. You will tell them why the firefighters found him like that tonight. Her mouth fell open. Zell. I could lose my family. You should have thought of that before you helped destroy mine. She reached for my arm, shaking. Please. Zell. Do not do this. I pulled my arm back gently. I am not doing anything. You did this. I am only giving you a chance to make it right. Her shoulders slumped. She sat down slowly on the couch, trembling. I turned toward the door. Before I left, I looked back at her one last time. And remember, I said softly, if you do not tell them, I will. And I will not soften a single word. Then I walked out. As I drove home, another realization hit me like a slow-burning flame. If Madeline knew, other people in his family knew too. Maybe not all, but enough. By the time I pulled back into my driveway, the sky was turning pale at the edges. Morning was coming, slow and quiet, like it knew it was walking into a war zone. I was tired. Not the kind of tired sleep could fix. The kind that sits in your bones, heavy and cold. But something inside me was awake. More awake than it had been in years. I walked into my house, dropped my keys on the table, and sat down on the couch. I could hear the ticking of the old wall clock beside the bookshelf. Each tick felt like a countdown toward something I could not quite see yet. Langston's phone was still in my pocket. Still warm. Still buzzing every few minutes with messages I refused to open. I finally pulled it out and set it on the coffee table. It lit up again. This time it was his brother, Shelby. A message that said, "Call me now. We heard about the motel. What did you do?" I let out a short breath. Not even surprised. They were already blaming me. Even though I had not told a soul what really happened. Even though Langston had walked into that room on his own legs, with his own lies, chasing a woman that was not his wife. But families like his never held their men accountable. The women always carried the weight. The men always carried excuses. I tapped the phone screen. I did not answer him. Not yet. Instead, I took my time. I changed my clothes, washed my face, made myself a fresh cup of ginger tea. Then I put on my church shoes, the comfortable black ones I wore to funerals and serious conversations. Because this morning was not about grief. It was not about revenge either. It was about respect. The kind his family had stripped from me for too many years. I drove to the Price family house. If there was one place every secret ended up sooner or later, it was that big beige house at the end of Cedar Ridge Lane. It was where they hosted Thanksgiving, Easter brunch, baby showers, and every argument they thought I never heard about. When I pulled up, 3 cars were already in the driveway. His sisters. His brothers. His cousin Denise's old white Nissan. They were gathered. Of course they were. Trouble brought them together faster than holidays. I walked up to the porch. The door was cracked open, voices spilling out. She set him up, I hear Shelby say. That woman been trouble since day one. Another voice. Denise. I knew she had something to do with it. Langston ain't never been no fool. The laugh that slid out of me was small, humorless, sharp. They were unbelievable. I pushed the door open fully. Their voices cut off. All 3 of them turned to stare at me. Shelby stood up first, tall, thick neck, the same frown he always wore like it was stitched onto his skin. Denise froze with a biscuit halfway to her mouth. Madeline just sat there, red-eyed from crying, unable to look at me. I closed the door behind me calmly. Good morning, I said. Even though we all know it is not. Shelby stepped closer, anger in his jaw. You did something to my brother. I know you did. I folded my hands in front of me. And what makes you think that? He snorted. Because Langston ain't stupid enough to end up in a motel room glued to some woman. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. So the cheating part does not bother you. Just the humiliation part. He hesitated. That's not what I meant. Denise scoffed. Zell, you embarrassing the whole family. I tilted my head. Me. The wife. The woman who stayed. The woman who paid bills when your cousin refused to work. The woman who kept him fed, clothed, and breathing. I am embarrassing the family. Silence hit the room like a slap. Madeline whispered. Zell, please. I turned to her. You had your chance last night. But you chose the wrong side. She lowered her head. I faced the whole group. I want to know something. How long did y'all know he was cheating? Shelby's mouth opened then closed. Denise shifted her eyes toward the floor. Madeline stared at her hands. I crossed my arms. That is what I thought. Shelby tried again. Look, Zell. No. This time they listened. My voice was steady, strong, and clear. No interruptions. Here is the truth. Langston has been cheating for a long time. I found proof months ago. I stayed quiet because I wanted to see who would stand with me, and who would stand behind him. Madeline sobbed harder. Denise whispered. We thought you already knew. I nodded. That is exactly the problem. You all watched me cook for him, pray for him, defend him, while he was out there embarrassing me. And instead of telling me, you protected him. The cheater. Not the wife. Not the mother of his children. Not the woman who kept this family together. Shelby looked down at the floor. He had no words left. I stepped forward. Now hear me clearly. I am done carrying his sins on my back. I am done keeping quiet so y'all can protect his image. I am done being the woman who suffers so he can walk around pretending he is a man. They stared at me, stunned, because this was the first time in 40 years I ever raised my voice to them. Shelby finally spoke, weak and shaky. "What do you want from us?" I leaned forward just enough for my words to stick. "From today on, you will speak the truth about what he did. You will not blame me. You will not twist my name. You will not whisper lies at family gatherings." I paused. My eyes moved from one face to the next. "And if any one of you tries to cover for him again, I promise you, I will bring out every detail, every receipt, every message, every secret, and I will tell the whole town." Denise swallowed hard. "Even the church?" "Yes," I said. "Especially the church." Silence fell again. But this time, it was surrender. I turned to leave. But Madeline ran forward and grabbed my arm gently. Her voice broke apart. "Zell, can you forgive me?" I looked at her hand holding mine. Then I looked at her tired eyes, the guilt swimming behind them. "Not today," I said softly. "But I am not God. I do not close the door forever. You just make sure you open yours when the truth comes knocking." I walked out, head high, shoulders steady. When I stepped off that porch and felt the sun hit my face, something lifted off me. Something heavy. Something old. It was not revenge. Not yet. It was the beginning of freedom. But the day was not over. And I had one more stop to make before the world learned the full truth. Because as I drove away from the Price family house, Langston's phone buzzed again. This time it was a message that froze me in place. A message from someone I had not heard from in years. Someone who should have never had his number. A message that said, "We need to talk. I know what he did to you. I know how long it has been happening." Signed, "Someone who loves you more than he ever did." My hand tightened around the steering wheel. My heart dropped and lifted all at once. I whispered one name under my breath, and could hardly believe it was real. The message glowed on Langston's phone like it was written in fire. 7 words. 7 words strong enough to shake me in a way the motel, the firefighters, the humiliation, and even his family had not. "We need to talk. I know what he did." Signed, "Someone who loves you more than he ever did." My throat tightened. My hands went still on the steering wheel. Because there was only one person who used to say something like that to me. Only one person bold enough. Only one person who disappeared without explanation. Right when I needed them most. I whispered the name. A name I had not spoken in almost 30 years. Jeremiah. Jeremiah Cole. My childhood friend. My almost love. The man who came into my life like sunlight, then vanished like smoke. I sat there parked under an old oak tree, staring at the message. It felt unreal. Like a ghost had found my number. Why now? Why today? Why on Langston's phone? My hands trembled as I typed back. "Who is this?" The reply came immediately, like he had been waiting for my fingers to move. "It's me, Z. I'm home. Z." Only one person on this earth ever called me that. Only one person said it with softness and thunder at the same time. My heart started beating so hard I had to breathe slow just to steady myself. "What do you want?" I typed. His answer came gentle. "To help you. I know everything he's done. He hurt you for years. You don't have to walk through this alone." I stared at the letters until they blurred. It felt like seeing a door open in a room I thought was sealed shut. A room I had locked away inside myself. I typed again. "How did you get this number?" Jeremiah replied. "Meet me before I explain. You know the place. If you still remember." My breath caught. Oh, I remembered. How could I forget? The old walking trail behind Pine Grove Church. The place where we used to sit on the wooden bench under the willow tree. The place where he told me he loved me. 2 months before I married Langston. My fingers hovered over the screen. A part of me wanted to throw the phone across the car. Another part of me wanted to drive straight there. But before I could choose, another message came. Please, Z. This time, don't disappear on me. My throat closed. Because it was not me who disappeared. It was him. 30 years ago. The week before my wedding. One goodbye that never came. I closed the phone and rested my head back on the seat. My whole life felt like it was shifting under me. Like truth was cracking the floorboards one by one. After a minute, I turned the key in the ignition. The engine hummed to life. I started driving. Not fast. Not slow. Just steady, like my heart suddenly had a direction again. As I turned onto the old church road, memories rose like shadows in headlights. Me at 19, laughing with Jeremiah under the summer sun. Him holding my hand, telling me I deserved better than the world gave me. Me letting him go because he wanted to leave town and chase his dreams, and I did not want to keep him from flying. Then the twist I never told anyone. The letter he wrote me. The one I never saw until years later. The one Madeline admitted she accidentally threw away. I did not know which part of that memory hurt more. Losing him. Or never knowing he tried to stay. Because she stole my chance. I parked near the trail entrance. The morning sun was climbing slowly, warming the air. Birds chirped like they had no idea a storm was walking underneath them. I walked the path. Each step felt like peeling back a layer of myself. And when I reached the willow tree, I stopped. There he was. Jeremiah Cole. 63 now, but still standing tall. Still carrying that quiet strength I remembered. Hair gray at the temples. Skin rich and deep like polished walnut. Eyes soft the way they always were when they looked at me. When he saw me, he smiled slow. A smile I had not seen in 3 decades. Z. You came. I folded my arms to keep from shaking. Why are you here, Jeremiah? He stepped closer. Because I heard what happened. And because I should have never left you alone back then. My chest tightened. You did leave. He shook his head. No. I was pushed away. I frowned. Pushed by who? He took a deep breath. His sister. Madeline. My heart dropped. Cold. Heavy. He continued. I came to your house the night before your wedding. I came to tell you I loved you. That I wanted you to come with me. She met me at the door. Told me you didn't want to see me. Told me you burned my letters. Told me you said you'd rather marry Langston than chase dreams with a man who couldn't give you stability. My knees weakened. Everything inside me twisted. The world dimmed for a second. Jeremiah watched the pain hit me and stepped forward gently. Z. She didn't want me in the picture. She wanted you to marry her brother. So she cut me out. And I believed her. Tears slipped down my cheeks before I could stop them. 30 years of misunderstanding. Crushed into one truth. She stole that from me, I whispered. He nodded. She stole us from each other. I covered my mouth with both hands, shaking. The betrayal ran deeper than I ever imagined. Madeline did not just protect her brother's cheating. She had been protecting his claim to me from the beginning. Jeremiah gently touched my arm. I never stopped caring, Z. Not for one day. I came back because you deserve someone in your corner. Not just for tonight. But for the rest of your life. If you let me. I pulled my arm back, not in anger, but in shock. I could barely breathe. Jeremiah. My marriage is falling apart in flames. My family is divided. My name is being dragged. And now you come back with this. He nodded slowly. I know the timing is messy, but I will wait for you. Even if it takes years. I am not walking away again. My heart pounded. My mind spun. My breath shook. Before I could answer, Langston's phone buzzed again. A new message. From the hospital. From a nurse. Saying, "Your husband is awake. And he is asking for you. He says it's an emergency." I closed my eyes as the world around me blurred. Jeremiah watched me carefully. "What are you going to do, Z?" My voice came out thin. I don't know. But I did know this. Whatever decision I made next would change everything. I stood under that willow tree, holding Langston's buzzing phone in my hand while Jeremiah's eyes stayed fixed on me. The birds kept singing like nothing in the world was breaking. But inside me, everything was splitting open. My husband wanted to see me. My past wanted to reclaim me. My truth wanted to be heard. And I could not tell which one deserved me first. Jeremiah stepped closer, not touching me this time, just offering the warmth of someone who truly meant well. "Z, you don't owe him anything. Not after everything he did." I swallowed. "Maybe not. But I owe myself closure." He nodded slowly. "Then go. And when you are ready to talk again, I will be right here." The way he said it. Calm. Steady. No pressure. No demand. It touched a part of me I had buried decades ago. I walked back to my car without looking back. If I looked at Jeremiah again, I might not have had the strength to leave. The drive to the hospital felt longer than it should. Red lights. Empty streets. A mind full of noise. When I arrived, the nurse at the front desk recognized me immediately. She gave a sympathetic nod. "You can go in, Miss Price. He has been asking for you." I exhaled slowly and walked down the hallway. Each step echoed off the cold floor. My house held memories. This place held consequences. His room was dim, the blinds half closed. Machines beeped softly, steady and slow. Langston lay there, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. Pale. Fragile. Wrapped in blankets, 4 in his arm, gauze on his skin where the glue had torn it. He opened his eyes when he heard me. "Zell." His voice cracked. It was weak, trembling like it had lost its pride somewhere between room 17 and this hospital bed. I stepped inside, but I didn't go close. I stayed by the door. He tried to sit up, winced, and stopped. "You came." I kept my arms crossed. The nurse said it was an emergency. He swallowed hard. "It is." Silence hung between us, heavy and thick. Finally, he said the words he had avoided for decades. "I need to tell you the truth." I raised an eyebrow. "About which lie?" "There are so many." "Be specific." He closed his eyes like my voice hurt him. "Zell. I messed up. I messed up real bad." I waited. He opened his mouth again, but no apology came. Only fear. "They want to sue me, Zell. The woman's family. They are threatening to take my pension, my savings. Everything. I could lose the house." I stared at him. Not in anger. Not in sadness. Just disbelief. This man had nearly destroyed me. And the first thing he wanted to talk about was himself. His money. His consequences. Not my pain. Not my heartbreak. Not the pieces of me he had stepped on. Just himself. My voice came out steady. "Why did you call me here, Langston?" He looked down at his hands. Because I need your help." My jaw tightened. Of course he did. He continued, voice shaking. "I need you to stay by my side. Just until the legal mess clears. If you stand with me, the court will go easy. They do not hit married men as hard when the wife defends them. He looked up at me with desperate eyes. Zell, please. I cannot survive this without you. Something inside me snapped, clean and clear, like a rope finally breaking after holding too much weight. I stepped closer, not out of sympathy, but out of strength. I stood at the foot of his bed and spoke slowly. Do you know what I went through these past months? Do you know how many nights I cried until my throat burned? Do you know how it felt to find hotel receipts, text messages, perfume on your clothes? Do you know how it felt walking into that motel, hearing you beg for help next to a woman who wasn't me? Do you know how it felt realizing your family helped you lie? His lips trembled. Zell, I am sorry, I swear. No. Not this time. I took a deep breath. Let me tell you what I know, Langston. I know you broke my heart. I know you treated me like an option, not a wife. I know you let your family disrespect me. I know you gave your body to someone else while I was at home cooking your dinner. I know you lied to me with a straight face. I know you were not afraid to hurt me, only afraid to lose comfort. He blinked fast, fighting tears. Zell, please. I just need you on my side. I shook my head. No. You had my side for 40 years. And you threw it away. He reached out a shaky hand toward me. Zell, don't leave me. Please. I love you. I stepped back. No. You loved the way I held you down. You loved the way I forgave you. You loved being protected. You never loved me the way I deserved. His face crumpled. So, what are you saying? I exhaled slowly, deep, final. I am saying I am done being your shield. I am saying you will face your consequences alone. I am saying the woman you betrayed is done carrying your weight. I walked toward the door. My hand touched the handle. He whispered, barely audible. So that is it. After all these years. I turned, looked him straight in the eyes. This time he saw the truth. Not anger. Not love. Just a woman who finally knew her worth. No. Langston. This is not the end. The end was the day you chose her over me. This is my beginning. His tears finally fell. But I walked out before they could mean something. As I stepped into the hallway, my heart beat differently. Lighter. Stronger. Clearer. My life with him was over. But something new was waiting. Maybe healing. Maybe freedom. Maybe answers. Maybe Jeremiah. I pulled out the phone to message him. But right then, a nurse ran toward me, breathless. Miss Price. You need to come back. Something just happened to your husband. I froze. Everything inside me stopped. What happened? She swallowed hard. He collapsed. We do not know why. And he asked for you again before he went unconscious. My breath caught. My pulse spiked. I turned slowly. The hallway felt long and cold. The nurse whispered, "You should prepare yourself. It does not look good." And the world tilted. Because now the story was no longer about revenge. It was about truth, consequences, and a final moment I had never expected. The hallway felt colder the second time I walked down it. Every footstep echoed too loud, like the whole building was holding its breath. The nurse moved fast ahead of me, pushing open the door to Langston's room. I stepped inside. Everything looked different. The machines were beeping faster. 2 nurses stood on either side of the bed, adjusting lines and checking his vitals. Langston's face was pale, his breathing shallow, his lips trembling like he was fighting to stay conscious. When he saw me, his hand weakly lifted off the blanket. Barely an inch. But enough to let me know he had waited for me. "Miss Price," one of the nurses said gently, He wanted to speak to you. We don't know how long he has. My chest tightened. I moved closer to the bed, not touching him, but close enough for him to see me clearly. Zell. His voice cracked like it was trying to hold itself together. You came back. I nodded once. What do you need to say? His eyes filled with tears. Not the dramatic kind. Not the manipulative kind. The real ones. The kind that come when the truth finally becomes too heavy to hide. Zell. I don't want to die with this lie. My heart stopped. A lie. Another one. After all this. I leaned closer. Say it. He swallowed hard, fighting for breath. I did not just cheat on you this year. I've been cheating a long time. I am not proud of it. I was weak. Selfish. Stupid. I said nothing. I just waited. Because I knew there was more. He took another breath, eyes shaking. But there is something else. Something nobody ever told you. He paused. Tears rolled down his temples. Madeline. She kept things from you. A lot of things. I already know about that, I said quietly. He shook his head weakly. No. Not just the cheating. Something way worse. Something that changed both our lives. He closed his eyes tightly, like he had to gather the strength to speak again. When he opened them, the truth finally broke out of him. Years ago, before we got married, you were supposed to get a letter. From someone. Someone who loved you. Someone who wanted a life with you. My heart began to race. Jeremiah. He was talking about Jeremiah. Langston continued in a trembling whisper. Madeline found that letter first. She hid it from you. She told me that if I didn't marry you fast, he would take you away. My knees almost gave out. It felt like the air was stolen from the room. I clutched the railing of the bed to steady myself. He coughed hard and the nurse moved closer, checking the lines. But Langston raised his shaking hand, stopping her. He needed to finish. Zell. I knew about it. I knew he loved you. I knew you loved him too. But His voice broke. I wanted you for myself. So I stayed quiet. I let her destroy that letter. I let her lie to you. I let you walk into a marriage that you never chose with a clear heart. My breath shuddered out of me. A deep ache spread through my chest, not sharp, but slow and burning. He looked at me with drowning eyes. You deserved better than me. Better than this life. Better than all the things I did to you. I stole a part of your happiness. And I am so sorry, Zell. So sorry. The room went silent except for the soft hum of the machines. The truth sat between us like a heavy shadow. All those years. All that pain. All those doubts. They finally made sense. Not because he cheated. Not because he lied. But because he had taken something from me before our marriage even began. Choice. Freedom. The man I truly loved. I swallowed hard. For a long moment, I could not speak. Finally I said, "Why tell me now?" He blinked slow, barely holding on. Because the truth belongs to you. Not to me. Not to her. Not to anyone else. Just you. I stared at him. And for the first time in many years, I did not feel anger. I did not feel love. I felt closure. Real closure. I took a step closer and whispered, "I forgive you for the truth you finally told. But I cannot forgive the life you stole. God will decide the rest." He nodded slowly. A tear slid down his cheek. "Thank you. For coming." His eyes closed. His chest shivered once. Then steadied. The nurses rushed in, checking vitals, adjusting machines. "Miss Price," one whispered, "he is stable for now." But he needs rest. We will keep him under close watch. I backed up from the bed, watching him breathe, watching my old life rise and fall in slow rhythm. Then I turned around and walked out. The sun outside the hospital doors felt warmer than it should have. Soft. New. Like the beginning of another life. Jeremiah was sitting on a bench near the entrance. Waiting. Just like he said he would. When he saw me, he stood slowly. No questions. No pressure. Only a quiet understanding. I walked toward him with steady steps. He opened his arms, not to claim me, but to offer comfort. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to accept it. I leaned into him, breathing in the newness of a future I never thought I would touch. He held me gently, like a man who knew the value of things lost and found. When I finally pulled back, he looked into my eyes and said, "Welcome back, Z." And for the first time in 40 years, I felt like I was truly home. My story did not end with glue. It ended with truth, strength, rebirth, and the soft beginning of a love that had once been stolen but now stood waiting with an open door. Before you go, if this story touched you in any way, if it made you think, cry, or remember your own strength, do me one favor. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Comment and tell me where you are watching from. This helps me bring you more powerful stories just like this one. Stories of women finding their voices again. Thank you for listening. More stories are coming.